How have you found the training so far? How has it been for you? Let's get some feelers. Let's get some feelers. As we begin to get to audience analysis, quickly. How have you found? Hope I've cured shyness. There's no cause for shyness. There's no need for shyness. Please don't be shy at all. Very realistic. You have helped me a lot. Thank you very much. Very impactful. Thank you very much. Very great. Fantastic. I'm happy. Informative. Thank you. I see that. Thank you very much. Audience analysis. No more shyness. Thank you, Corey. I like that. Good so far. A bit fast. Okay, I'll take it more slowly now. Healing in progress. Fantastic. Quite educative and an eye-opener. Fantastic. Great. I like that. All right, quickly now. Audience analysis. I got angry under confidence. That's why I was a bit fast. I don't like people that are shy. No. You have a point to deliver. No shyness, please. Assertive all the way. Fantastic. Helpful. Fantastic. Quickly. Now, let's go into audience analysis. Audience analysis is another thing that will help you to prepare adequately and also overcome shyness. The more of your audience you know, the better you are able to deliver. The more of your audience you know, the better you are able to deliver. Remember, we've talked about confidence, assertiveness, positivity. Now you have to understand your audience. Who are they? Who are these people I'm about to speak to? Many people are just preparing speeches independent of their audience. They don't know who they are talking to. You don't know who you are talking to. If you are talking to a child, you don't prepare a speech for a child, same way you prepare a speech for an adult. There are different, there are words you will use, you won't use. You can't be speaking big English when you're speaking to young people. When you're speaking to professionals in the academic world, there are certain terms and terminologies you have to use. When you're speaking to accountants, there are certain terms you will use. When you're speaking to lawyers, there are certain terms you have to use. When you're training, so you have to understand your audience. Now, audience analysis. Why is audience analysis important? Audience analysis is important because the act of public speaking is a shared activity that involves interaction between the speaker and the audience. So in order for your speech to get a fair hearing, you need to have a great relationship with your listeners. So people that are listening to you, you have to be able to connect with them. People are not as persuasive because they don't know their audience. If you know your audience, you know the things that get them excited. You know the things that get them happy. You know the things they like hearing. For example, now the pastor of my church now knows the things that gets us. I mean, a former church pastor, Pastor Boji, for example, he knows the kind of jokes that make people laugh. He says certain stories over and over again, certain things that will get him excited. If you have mastered your audience, you know the kind of examples you can bring. Some examples the audience will not understand. You can go and bring a foreign example to your national audience, and it made sense to you, but of course, this is your audience now. So understanding audience is very critical. So what is audience analysis? Audience analysis is the process of gathering information about the people in your audience so that you can understand their needs, expectations, beliefs, values, attitudes, and likely opinions. You have to gather information about your audience. Very important. Okay? Now, why is audience analysis important? I already mentioned that it is for the purpose of acknowledging the audience. You have to acknowledge your audience. You have to recognize them when you're starting your speech. In preparing your speech, you don't just start a speech. You have to know who they are. If they are professionals in their industry, you have to know who they are. Audience analysis is also important so you can choose a suitable topic. You can't give a topic that's not related to what the audience is talking about. The audience has to be able to connect.
Morning, sir.
So to be able to choose a worthwhile topic, that is why you need to have audience analysis. Also, to adapt your speech. When you are speaking, you have to be able to adapt your speech. When you're looking at your audience, for example, you are interpreting how they are looking. You're interpreting how they are seeing. You are tweaking it. You are tweaking. This person is reacting this way. You are tweaking it. You are tweaking it. That's what makes skillful public speakers. You also need to do audience analysis so that you can speak credibly or ethically. So you can speak informatively. The audience needs to know that they can trust you. That you understand their motivations, you understand their when you hear them speak, this person gets me, this person knows me, and they know that you're not trying to manipulate or trick them, that you have their best interest at heart. They can trust you. That's because you have done your audience analysis correct. So before you speak, you have to do an audience analysis. And what does it mean? Audience analysis is called, there are different types of audience. There's demographic analysis. There's what is called psychographic analysis. And there's what's called situational analysis. Quickly now, this is not supposed to be a lengthy training. This aspect is not supposed to be a lengthy part. What is demographic analysis? Before you start speaking, these are the things you have to ask under demographic. Ask for their age. Are you speaking to teenagers or adults? Are you speaking to people in their 50s? Are you speaking to male or female? Are you speaking to lesbians? Or there are things you can't say. Are you speaking to what culture? Is it Yoruba, Igbo? Are you speaking to whites? Are you in a foreign audience? The audience, what's their culture? You have to know who they are. What's their religion? Are you speaking to Muslims? There was a time I went to a mosque. I had to train Muslims in the mosque. I had to take off my shoes. There are things I couldn't say there. The examples I couldn't cite there because they are Muslims, okay? You have to understand. If you're speaking to Christians, also, there are things you can connect with. If you have been asked to speak or train a church, for example, examples you can cite they will connect with. Also understand what group member, do they belong to a group? Are they professionals in the banking industry? Are they professionals in the law and the accounting industry? All of those things. What group do they belong to? What is their educational level? Are you speaking to master's degree holder or PhD holders? Are you speaking to professors? That you have to use high sounding language, or you're speaking to primary school children. You can't use high sounding language. So your audience, this is demographic analysis. Occupation, what do they do? What do they do? What is this person doing? Is this person a student? Is this person, when you're speaking to students, there are examples you have to be able to use to connect with them. For example, now I train students, I train teachers, I train professionals, I train church workers, I train many people different, but I don't use the same examples in all those instances. I use different examples in different instances. Occupation tells, okay? Designation, what is their position? If you're speaking to a manager, if you're speaking to a manager, it's different from the way you're speaking to an employee. You're speaking to an employer of labor. It's different. There are different things. So you have to factor that into your preparation. Factor that into your speech. Now, psychographic analysis. What is psychographic analysis? What is psychographic analysis? Psychographic analysis is basically understanding. Remember, this first one is demographic. This one now is psychographic. You're understanding the opinion and the perspective they have about your topic before you start. So what is there? For teachers, they call it entry behavior. What do they know about your topic before coming? What are the pre-existing notions? What are the things they have, the opinions they have about the topic before you start talking? What are the pre-existing notions they have about the topic? If it's a company now, you're going to speak at another company, what do they know about your company? What is the information they have? If you're addressing a group of teachers, for example, Mr. Abibola does that a lot. What do they think about the matter already? Mrs. Ray also does this a lot. You are speaking to your teachers. What do they know about this topic? What do they know about this thing that I'm about to say? It is from that perspective. Don't just talk to your audience as though they are ignorant. I am beginning to talk to them about things that they already know. We already know this. I now spend 1.5 hours of a 2-hour speech talking about something that your audience already knows. Okay? Very important that you connect with your speech. Okay? Very, very important. Now, that's psychographic analysis. What do they know about the topic? And then the last one is what's called situational analysis. Situational analysis. That is the place you are going to speak at. Where you are going to speak at. How does it look like? Some people don't do this. It's part of audience analysis. Audience analysis also focuses on situational factors, so that the size of how many people are coming. Before I speak, I ask how many people am I speaking to? How is the place going to look like? If it's an online class, am I going to be speaking or am I going to be texting? Is it a WhatsApp training or a Zoom training? There are two different things. I will know how to prepare. And then the speaker of the occasion, what are the other people that are coming? How large is the audience? What kind of occasion? Am I speaking at a wedding? Am I speaking at a burial ceremony? Am I speaking at a graduation ceremony? The occasion. Those are things that people have to ask. If you're speaking at the company, for example, there are different things. There are different things you can even wear. It will help you better prepare. And then what kind of audience? Then also you now look at your microphone, your visual aids. How is the lighting, the room? Is it far from the road? There's no traffic. These are things you want to check. Check the sitting position, the arrangement. Where's the position, the stage, the lighting? How is it properly? Where is the camera going to be like? Go there and look at this thing. Those are situational analysis. That's what's called situational analysis as you prepare. Okay? That is what's called audience. Why do you need to? How do you use your audience analysis? What is the purpose of audience analysis? Of what benefit is it? How do you, all these things that you have done now, the age, everything you have checked, how do you use them? Of course, before I talk about that, look at what you do. If you want to conduct an audience analysis, you cannot do any of those things. You can go there yourself, observe, direct observation, observe non-verbal patterns of behavior. You can look at your audience and see how they are reacting. Look at how they are acting. Look at their disposition, their mindset, their behaviors. You can also go and interview. You can interview people. Look at these people. How old are they? These are things you can ask your host. How many are they students? Are they medical professionals? Ask them. You can do a survey, do a research, ask questions, do a survey. You can also do focus groups. Ask a second set of people. These people, how? That's how you get information. And then you can use existing data about your audience. If you're going to another company to speak, go on the internet, go and do your research. These are all the things you have to do as a public speaker that will make you effective. Many people don't do this and they now say, I'm shy. And it'll be obvious. Audience analysis. And so after you've done all these things, what should you use it to do? Number one, use it to prepare your content with your audience in mind. This will help you. Find a topic as you're preparing your audience, your topic. You have done all your audience analysis. Find a topic that your audience will connect with to help you. It's not every topic. It's not every topic they will find interesting. Use your audience analysis to ensure that the content of your speech will be as clear and understandable. You understand you are speaking to children. So you have to tweak certain words, use certain examples. Your content will help you. Your audience analysis will help you. Your content will be more structured. Your content will be more suitable. Your content will be more appealing, okay, with your audience in mind. Also, use your content, your audience analysis to adjust your speech. When you see the content, when you see your audience, for example, as you are speaking now, good speakers learn a lot by watching their audience while speaking. And then they make specific adjustments. If you are speaking now, somebody is making some gesticulation, you are making some facial expression, they are looking somehow, looking tired, throw in a joke somewhere. You know, this person, you're looking, that's audience analysis. So it is before and also during. Audience analysis, you use your audience analysis before your speech, that's when you're preparing for the speech. And while you are speaking, you're also using your analysis. You are making adjustments. You are making adjustments. You are seeing, this time I need to make adjustments. Look at my audience. Look at how they're reacting here. Some of them are already getting bored. Let me cite an example. Let me begin to wrap up here. The feedback you receive from your audience during your speech is valuable indication of ways to adjust your presentation. That is why audience analysis. Some people are not mindful about their audience. That is why we are saying this is public speaking as a soft skill. Remember what soft skills are. There are other courses on the Soft Skills Academy that we look at. Very important, okay? That you use audience analysis. All right, so that's audience analysis. Quickly now, let's look at how to harness your persuasive skills. How do you harness your persuasive skills? Remember, you are preparing now. All of this is in preparation. You have to get ready for your speech. So Mr. Dame will look at how to deliver the speech, but now this is preparing your speech. You have to be persuasive. We have dealt with confidence. We have dealt with analyzing your audience. How do you sound persuasive? Now, Aristotle looked at 3 things that make you persuasive. The first one is called persuasion is basically how to influence people. Influencing people is what persuasion is about. Now, the first one is called ethos. We looked at this extensively in one of our trainings. Some of us that attended the training on persuasion will remember this. Persuasion has 3 core elements. If you want to sound persuasive, Aristotle mentioned 2,000 years ago. There are 3 areas. Number 1 is your ethos. If somebody has invited you to come and speak publicly, they already assume that you have a reputation. They already assume that you have integrity. They already assume that you have knowledge of your subject matter. That is what's called ethos. The first one is ethos. So you have to have been doing something that will make you persuasive. I mean, think, for example, if I call Barack Obama to my conference now, you know how many people will show up? Even before he says anything, people already know, this person has ethos. He has good character. You already know his prestige. That is ethos. That is one thing that makes you persuasive. Number 2 is your pathos. If I now call you, you have integrity, you have all the, people know your record, you have a reputation, your CV is very tight, that is often said. But if you don't get there and you don't demonstrate this second one, you will not be persuasive. What's the second one? You have to have pathos. You have to be able to arouse the interest of the listener through passion. Pathos has to do with passion, conviction, has to do with enthusiasm. You have to show passion. So people don't show passion in their delivery. So you have to work on your passion. Very important. And then the last one is called logos. You have to make sense. You have to appeal to reason. Some people have prepared their points in a way that it's not realistic. What they're saying doesn't make sense. So you have to find examples. You have to find human interest stories. You have to find statistics and facts. Go through a logical process. People are people of logic. Human beings are human people of logic. So you have to be able to connect with your audience in a way that you make sense. You make sense. That's very important. All right. And then next thing is the fact that, okay, so that's persuasion. Quickly, that's persuasion. So these 3 things will make you more persuasive. I don't want to go into details. All of these things will make you a persuasive person. Persuasive person. Just combine. There's a separate training on persuasion at the Soft Skills Academy. If you're interested, you can let me know. We'll tell you how to be more persuasive as a person. Okay. Now, quickly now, let's look at 10 questions. I'm about to wrap up now. Questions to ask yourself as you prepare for your speech. Questions to ask yourself as you prepare for your speech. Now, these are some of the questions you want to ask yourself as you prepare for your speech. Questions to ask yourself as you prepare for your speech. Quickly now, if you want to prepare for your speech, ask yourself, what am I trying to achieve? Am I trying to persuade people? Am I trying to inform them? If you're trying to remember all the very first things I said when we started, the purpose of public speaking is to inform, persuade, to encourage, to influence the crowd. In each of those instances, how you approach each of those places will differ. So what am I trying to do? Am I trying to inform? Am I trying to inspire or stimulate? Sorry, that should be stimulate. Am I trying to instruct or explain? Am I trying to persuade or convince? Am I trying to amuse or entertain? In any of these instances, how you approach the speech will be different. If I'm trying to be informed, if I'm trying to inform people, it will be different. The approach will be different. I'm just inspiring, I'm just instructing, I'm just explaining, there are different instances. There are things you comport yourself. You just informative speeches will have statistics, will have facts, will have things that will help to convince people. Entertaining speeches will have things that make people laugh. You have to infuse jokes, a lot of jokes. Explaining things will show step-by-step process. So your speech will determine how you prepare it. So ask yourself, these are the starting points. Also, these are some of the questions you want to ask yourself again. I'll just read through all these questions just to help us think. When you're thinking, you can snap all of these things. What is the main purpose of my presentation? Ask yourself, what is the main purpose? What am I trying to achieve? Ask yourself, what do you want your audience to do as a result? At the end of my speech, what should my audience be able to do? You're standing before an audience, what should they be able to do with this, my speech, by the time you're done? Also ask yourself, what is the overall message? What's the major point I'm trying to say? These are all the things you ask yourself as you prepare your speech that will help you to prepare that speech in a way that will make the audience understand. Also ask yourself, what are the main points I want to make? What are the points I want to make? Ask yourself. Also ask yourself, what supporting information? I've said these are the points I want to make. What other information do I need to use to back up this point? So people don't ask these things. And so they just say one point, but it doesn't sound convincing. You need to have supporting points. Also, how much time do you have? This is very important. You have 30 minutes, but your speech, you are prepared for a 3-hour speech, or you have just 30 minutes. How much time do you have? Ask yourself. Would it be helpful to give information before presentation? Would it be helpful to give information ahead of time before your presentation? Also, do you need to have visual aids? Do I need to have visual aids? Ask yourself. Then how can you prepare for questions? How do you prepare for questions? Ask yourself. Do you need to give them copies of papers or summaries at the end of the training? Ask yourself this question. Then when it comes to the structure of the training, look at this when it comes to the structure. After you know your audience, ask yourself, how can you best use your knowledge of your audience? Remember audience analysis. Ask yourself, these people I know, how can I use this thing that I know about them? And ask yourself, what is the most logical sequence? How should I start? How should I end? What's the best thing I should say? What's the second best thing I should say? Ask yourself. And then how can the audience attention, how can you get the attention of the audience immediately? Attention getting, how do I strike? Ask yourself these things. These are the things you use to craft a very skillful speech. A very skillful speech. And then what information do you need to support your presentation? You asked that earlier on. How can you relate your main points to each other? All these things I'm asking you, these are the things that very effective public speakers ask themselves. That's why you begin to hear some people. Look at Obama. We're going to analyze the speech of Obama later on. Look at how Obama presented his point in that speech. How in all those things, he asked all those questions. What example can I bring in here? What example can I throw in here? Look at that Ghanaian president too. What can I say? When should I say this? When should I introduce this element? When should I introduce this element? Ask yourself. It's a skill. Then ask yourself, what is the most appropriate language to use? Or should I sound very professional? Should I sound very simple? Should I sound very hard? What is the best way? And this is your audience analysis that will help you know what to do. What visual aids can I use to illustrate my point? What visual aids? What visual aids can I use to illustrate my point? That's very important. Ask yourself, am I going to use a visual aid that is very captivating and enthralling? Do I need to design? Do I need to use somebody, Canva, or whatever it is? Ask yourself. And then what will be the most effective way to conclude your presentation? More important than how you start is also how you finish. Because how you finish is what people will remember for a long time. You can start very brilliantly, but if you finish poorly, people will just be disappointed. So you need to know how to end. We're going to look at that later on. Okay. Also, your delivery. I'm just going to say something about delivery. Are you going to deliver by writing down what kind of delivery style? You want to write everything down in advance? Ask yourself. Do you want to summarize on card? Do you want to have a card clip? This is one I use most of. I don't write all my presentation. I just summarize. These are the things I say from here. Do you want to pitch it at a level that people can understand? Then this is something you have to be watchful. Don't fly by the seat of your pants. It's an idiom. Don't fly by the seat of your pants. What does that mean? It means that you shouldn't speak without preparing. Don't say, no, I know what I want to say. I will say it. By the time I do, I'll just deliver it. Say, I'll say it from my head. I will say it from my head. Don't fly off the seat of your pants. No, it's not going to help you. You are going to practice what you want to say. Listen, I want to say. Don't say, I know it. Sit down and say, this is how I'm going to say it. So some people are so cocky and proud. They just, I've done it. I'll just say it. By the time I get, I'll just say it. Think about it, especially when it is an example you want to give. Don't just say it from your head and say, practice it because of your audience. You may wish to give out information in advance, such as your financial data, structured question, delivery, all of those things. Ask yourself. Then do not try to use new equipment for the first time. Don't try to use a new equipment for the first time. If you're trying to use new equipment, test it. Microphone, PowerPoint, and what are they called? Projector, all of those things. Try it beforehand. Have your host try it out, all of those things, okay? Check out your electrical equipment, all your settings, laptop, charger, all the things that you need to charge. Check them. Those are little practices, okay? Very important. And then have a contingency plan, have a backup plan in case power goes out. If there's no power, and all you have done is just slides. How do you do when there's no power in the office? And all you have done is just power. Can you teach from your brain? Can you teach from your head? Do you have it printed out in a way that you can deliver? Have a backup plan. Very important. Be careful of visual aids. Visual aids are very important. These are some of the benefits of visual aids. When you're speaking, you have to have visual aids, especially when you're training in company. Shake it. Okay. Especially when you are speaking in a company, you have to use visual aids to emphasize your points. So visual aids break up the monotony of a session. Visual aids. Visual aids can also be your mannerism, your gesticulation, your dramatics, all the things you do. Also, visual aids help you to reinforce a specific point. People like to see images. That's why in some of my presentations, you can see images. Thanks to a dear friend of mine, Abisola Ogutune, that did that for me. Did a number of designs and all of that, made it more captivating and appealing to the eye. Visual aids can also help you to introduce humor, cartoon codes, all of those things. You want to throw that in. It helps people. Human beings are both audio and visual. So you want to combine both of those things. They want to see images, they want to hear things. So you can't just be speaking and speaking. Let them see something. Let them watch some videos. Let them watch some things that will emphasize your point. Visual aids also help you to communicate using more than one channel. You remember verbal and non-verbal communication. You can use more than one channel. Visual aids can focus attention and extend. So people, when they see visual aids, their attention is more driven. They see it, they understand it better. And their attention, they can stay better. So more important than that, the most powerful visual in any presentation is what? The presenter. The most powerful visual in any presentation is the presenter. It's the presenter. So more than any presenter, all the visual aids that you have done, what you have to emphasize is what your presentation. Your presentation is very important. So you are the major person. Don't focus on the visual. Don't package so much visual aids, and everybody is interested and happy. But at the end of the day, there's nothing. You are just there. It's just your presentation they are looking at. You are the presenter. You're the one that regulates the visual aids. You're the one that regulates the content. So people are looking at you. So don't make visual aids the major thing. The presenter is the major thing. You are the one that is crucial. Okay. Then look at these graphics. This is poor graphics. So if you want to do graphics, make sure you get it right. Look at these graphics that people use. Very poor. Make sure you get your graphics right. Look at bad graphics, bad visuals. Color is poor. I've invited people to speeches and they had poor, people couldn't see what was on the screen. Don't use poor colors. If you're not good with it, just use black and white. Simple. If you want to make it more appealing, get a professional to help you. Get somebody who knows how to do it with bad visuals. It damages so avoid bad visuals. And then quickly, we're wrapping up now, getting started. Some don'ts of public speaking. Don't do these things in public speaking. Don't hold sheets of paper that will be a distraction to your audience. So people have sheets of paper, they are rifling through it, they are checking through it, and that's a distraction. People are wondering, this is making noise. People are not saying you're trying to open page 2, page 3, and all of that. Don't hold sheets of paper. If you want to hold sheet of paper, place it on the platform. Don't hold it and you are holding, and your mic is in one hand, sheet of paper is in another hand, and don't hold sheet of paper. It's a distraction. Also, don't chew while you speak. It is wrong to chew while you are speaking because your words won't come out very effectively. Okay, don't chew while you speak. Also, don't put your hands in your pocket or on your waist, except if you want to use it to make an example. But if that's what you are doing all through your presentation, you are not being wise and smart in connecting with your audience. Don't put your hands all through your speech or put your hand on your waist. No, it is wrong. And then also, don't back your audience. Just the same way with acting. Don't back your audience when you're speaking, especially except if you want to use it as an example. But don't back your audience when you're speaking. Then some do's of public speaking: stand upright with confidence. You can see all these things now. You're already standing before the audience now. You can see we are getting there. You have done all the preparation. You have worked on your confidence, assertiveness, everything. Now you are standing before the audience. Stand upright. Stand confident. Don't slouch. Don't bend. Don't bow. All of those things. So when you greet them and you bow, put your head up. Confidence. Then give eye contact. Look at people in the eye. Don't look up and everybody's wondering, where's she looking at? Where is he looking at? Give eye contact. Let people see that you're looking at them. Give good pauses that will emphasize your point. Pause. Be deliberate. Pause. And don't rush through. Certain times, pause. Interact. Ask questions. You can see there were certain pauses during this training why I asked you to give me feedback, give me a comment, and all of those things. Those are pauses that are important. Also, work with purpose. Don't just be walking up and down the stage. If you are walking, let it be purposeful. Let it be for a particular reason. I'm walking to this place because I want to emphasize this point. Don't just be walking because your audience, your eye, before you know it, they will start sleeping. Don't be walking and pacing and pacing and pacing. And don't just stay in one place. Don't just stay in one place. It's very important that you move certain times, but at the same time, don't move too much. There's a balance, okay? Also, know your topic as a responsibility. We've looked at that already. Quickly now, this is a penultimate section. Now you have stood before the audience. Now you are standing before the audience now. What are the very first words that you say to capture their attention? This is what is called introductions. Begin effectively. It's important that you have a suitable introduction. Functions of a good introduction to gain audience attention and interest. The very first thing you say should capture their attention, should capture their interest. Very, very important. And then your introduction should also state the purpose of your speech. Your introduction should state the purpose of your speech. Anything you say. A good introduction establishes credibility. The very first things you say, people should, this is a very smart person. Because that's the first impression you're going to make on your audience. You establish credibility, competence, and trustworthiness. And then give them reasons to want to listen to you. The very first things you say in your speech go a long way in telling if people will listen to you for the rest of the speech. And a good introduction preview main ideas. And that's why in starting your speech, there's something called attention getter. Attention getter, the first step of an introduction. You have to speak. And how do you do attention getter? There you can start attention. Attention getters is especially simply talks about the things you say at the start of a speech to get people's attention. That's what it means. I can approach it in different ways. For me, I like using a quotation a lot. Say, according to the words of Abraham Lincoln, so and so, and I start a speech. Some people can use different things. Some people can tell a story. For example, Joel Osteen tells a story and uses a joke to start his messages. Some people can start with a personal example they had. That's an attention getter. You want to use that for your speech. Then, so look at some examples of attention getter. So an attention getter is a device a speaker uses at the beginning of a speech to capture an audience interest and make them interested in a speech topic. It has to be relevant to the topic. It has to be relevant to the audience. So look at some types. Remember I said quotations, examples, stories, jokes can be reference to the subject. So for example, if the topic is public speaking, the attention getter can be, our topic today is public speaking, and public speaking is defined as that can be your attention getter, but it's not so brilliant. But that's something that some people use, if that's what you want to use. An attention getter can be a quotation. I told you about this already. According to the words of so and so, this and this and that, and I use it. And I use that to enter. And attention getter can also be reference to current events. So for example, now, current events, things that are happening right now in the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has killed thousands of lives in Nigeria. With that, you already get people's attention because it's a current event. Okay, so that's an attention getter. An attention getter can also be a historical reference. In 1967, there was a Nigerian civil war, led to the loss of many lives. In 18th called historical reference, you can use that to start. Remember, this is the start of your speech. Okay, an attention getter can also be an anecdote. An anecdote, you know what an anecdote is? So it can either be a reference to a subject, remember, can be a quotation, Can be a historical reference, can be an anecdote. You know what an anecdote? This is the one that many people use a lot. An anecdote speakers use a lot. I mean, Barack Obama uses this a lot in his speech. It's usually a brief account or story of an interesting or humorous event. They start with a story. They start with a humorous, and this is one that Joel Osteen uses a lot. And then that doctor tells a story that is connected to the topic that he wants to. You can use that to get people's attention. These are things that make you an effective speaker. Don't just start blandly. An attention getter can also be a startling statement. You can say, she died yesterday. Who died yesterday? Who died? A startling statement. It can be a statistics. I say 1 million people have been killed by. It's something that shocks people. That can be an attention getter. You need to. These are dramatic. These are things that you deploy in your speech to make you very smart and brilliant. Can be a question. Do you know? An attention getter can be a question. Do you know what it takes to make money in the world? Do you know how to make 5 million in 1 month? That can be a question you can use to start. I use that a lot too. Can be an attention getter. Can be humor too. And say a joke just to lighten the atmosphere. As the icing and an icebreaker. People start with icebreakers. That can be an attention getter. Personal reference. Can tell a story about yourself. I got married in 2018. And after 1 year, I gave birth to my first. And this story, people are interested. An attention getter. Last week, I was shot by any conclusion. You just say your own. And that can be an attention getter. Personal reference. So that has brought us to the end of the training. That is all I have to offer for now before we get into the second part of the training. So my concluding thoughts would be, please, when you are preparing your speech, please ensure that you are thorough. You have a responsibility before your audience. There's no cause for shyness. You have to be assertive. There's no you have all the things we have talked about today. I'm sure you have taken a point or two here and there. There's no cause for shyness. You have to be thorough. You have to be prepared. Once you are prepared, shyness will disappear. Standing before you are people that want to listen to you and you're going to affect destinies. You can see that many people that have said so many things in life, they have altered the course of destiny. They have influenced life so massively, and they have affected destinies. So what you say carries power, carries weight. So you have to carry it with that sense of responsibility. Those are my concluding thoughts. And I hope you learned a lot from that. Quickly now, I will be moving to the next segment now. As I say, thank you.
So dexterity in delivery. Now I'm going to be talking about the intricacies, a few things here and there. I hope you're finding this very helpful and insightful. Okay, so the dexterity in delivery, I'm going to be running through them. All right, but it's so important that you understand this. You need to wear your confidence like a garment. Don't get on stage until you know you're confident, until you know that, yes, I'm ready to deliver it hot. All right, so it's important. You need to, prep yourself, use all the self-talks and all the motivational talks that you talk to yourself, like Mr. Peters rightly said, you talk to yourself, tell yourself, I can do this. The people who like me, I will enjoy myself on stage. I'm going to have a fantastic time. People tell me a lot that I speak with a lot of passion. So they make this joke that passion for whenever I speak, you see me sweating and all of that. You see, I'm sitting here now and I'm still sweating. But the point is, I like to be involved. I like to be, into whatever it is that I'm speaking about. I'm convinced about what I'm saying. And so I'm confident about the fact that the thing that I'm saying is impactful. It is helpful. It is insightful. All right. So you wear that confidence like a garment. Very important. Begin with words that demand attention and end with words that deserve distinction. You don't just start and then by the time you don't get a very good first impression, you've lost some people already. Some people that really, really are passionate about helping you, who just keep watching and keep listening until hopefully you get into your stride. But sometimes you don't have that chance. You don't have that opportunity. I've spoken for 7 minutes before at a massive, audience. I mean, over 1,500 people were there listening, and I was given the opportunity to speak for 7 minutes. 7 minutes. So apparently, I don't have much time to goof. I don't have much time to be, going around in circles. I had to say the most important things. I had to begin with words that demanded attention and end with words that deserved distinction, so that everybody heard, listened, and remembered the things I said. In a matter of 1 week, everybody in my circle of influence referred to that particular speech. That all their roommates, all their friends, everybody was talking about the speech that I came to make at that particular occasion because of how powerful it was, even though it was a very short one. And so it's important that you understand that you need to begin with words that deserve, all right, that demand attention, and end with words that deserve distinction. Very important. Avoid monotony when you're speaking. Avoid monotony. Don't say the exact same thing over and over and over again. monotony is the poverty of speech. You know, a person that doesn't have so much resources, most often than not, will use the same thing. We use the same shoes, the same, you know, clothes, the same food, the same, because there is no choice, there is no resourcefulness, there is no opportunity to be varied in your options. And so when it comes to speaking as well, monotony is the poverty of speech. That is how we know that you don't really have much in your arsenal to deliver. You see that? So avoid monotony. Be very dexterous. Be very varied and dynamic in the use of your words, in your gesticulations, in your body language, in your posture, in your mannerisms, in your oh boy, sometimes you use facial expressions that will just get people excited. Sometimes you stare just to get people to feel that there is energy coming from this guy. You see the way Obama was speaking, he was using words, he was talking with so much flair. You see that? And so there was nothing monotonous about it. You couldn't be bored. Even if you wanted to, you just couldn't, because there was nothing monotonous. It was so powerful the way he delivered his work. Very important. Your delivery must pack a punch of life, truth, feeling, and force. That is what makes for a very powerful delivery. It must carry life. It must be meaningful. It must be truthful. You see that? It must be truthful. It must be hinged on the ethics of truth. And then you must add some feeling. No matter how truthful and full of life what you have to say is, if the feeling is not felt from you, you're not going to transfer it to the people. You must feel inspired for them to be inspired. Imagine you're speaking uninspiring. How on earth are the people you're speaking to be inspired by the things you're saying? You yourself are not even inspired by it. You're the first feeler of the thing you have to say. If it didn't affect you, how on earth is it going to affect the secondary receivers of that which you have to say? And so it must pack a punch of life, truth, feeling, and force. It must pack a punch of life, truth, feeling, and force. Very important. Use antithesis for emphasis. Like I said, that day as I was speaking, I spoke so, I think something else took over me that day that I was speaking. A lot of people rose up, like I said, they became a crowd and they started clapping and all of that. And what happened? I started speaking from my heart. It was not from my head, from my heart. I used antithesis. All right, antithesis for emphasis. So I said I would rather have mothers in my church than have murderers and all of those things. As I said, those people who screamed and all of that. It was antithesis. So for example, you see, white is whiter behind black, or rather in front of black. If black is at the background and white is on top of it, you see that the white is whiter. It's not because the white is actually whiter than it is. It's because of the black. And so that black creates contrast. That is what antithesis is. So for example, Obama also used it. He said there is no liberal America. There is no conservative America. There is the United States of America. That got everybody screaming again because there was antithesis. He didn't just say we have the United States of America. That would not be inspiring enough. He had to give it in the background of, oh, there is no this, there is no that. I'd rather not have this. I'd rather not have that. I'd rather have this. You see, it's contrast, the play of words. You use that to drive home your point. And so when you think very powerfully about your words, your presentations, and all of those things, you're likely going to develop some of these very interesting axioms, quotes, and statements that will be so, so powerful. Efficiency through the change in emphasis, pitch, tempo, and inflection. We're not going to go into all of the details about all of this because it's a whole class. Emphasis, where you choose to emphasize. Is it the beginning of the statement or the middle of the statement or the end of the statement? You need to understand that there is a difference between emphasizing. You see, sometimes you can say the exact same thing, right? But the emphasis would change the meaning to the audience. So for example, I'm saying, I'm going to Kano. There's no emphasis in anyone. I am going to Kano means that it is I. What I really want you to understand is that I'm the one going to Kano, not you, not us, not everybody. I am going to Kano. If I say I'm going to Kano, now Kano already tells you that, see, it is Kano I'm going to. I'm not going to Abuja. I'm not going to Jokoto. I'm going to Kano. Kano is the real thing I want you to focus on. You see, if I say I am going to Kano, that is, there's nothing that can stop me. I'm going. I am going. You see, the choice of my emphasis is changing the meaning that the audience is receiving from the things that I'm saying. And so I'm just saying I'm going to Kano. Nobody really gets any real meaning, pungent line from that thing that I'm saying. So it's important that you see how important it is to emphasize whatever it is you're saying. You see, so I don't want to dwell so much on that. The pitch, that is the pitch. So sorry. The pitch of your statements, the pitch of your speech, it has got to be consistent with the importance you're trying to attach to the things that you're saying. Sometimes the lower the pitch, sometimes the more important the thing you're saying is. So for example, you're going on a very fast or rather on a very high pitch, and then you get to a very important point. You don't want to do it the same way you've been doing other things you've been saying. So you want to get it to seep in. So you just take it quietly. You use silence, you use a low tempo, a low pitch, and then you get it across, and it just penetrates. You see that? It penetrates because the pitch is lower. Just like I'm doing right now, the pitch is lower. And so you're able to hear it more crystally. It's more penetrative because of the low pitch. Then tempo also. Tempo talks about the pace. The pace. How fast are you speaking? How slow are you speaking? All of that. If you're an effective public speaker, you can use all of these to your advantage. Then the inflection. Sometimes you go high, sometimes you go low in the middle of a statement, in the middle of a sentence, in the middle of a word. You know, what you inflect on highly or lowly determines the kind of impact you want the audience to have. This is a whole class. We cannot exhaust it in a few minutes. So, but you need to understand that you need to be efficient through the change of emphasis, change of pitch, change of tempo, change of inflection. It will have a different meaning. Deploy the use of pause, which is power. Silence is the father of speech. A lot of our public speeches have no fathers. And we need to enact fathers. We need to install fathers to speeches. Some people just run through, like Mr. P said. You've got to give pauses, silence, seller. Silence is the father of speech. You see, use more fathers in your speaking. Very important. Enter into character. You know, I used to do a lot of acting back in the day. So you see the director will tell us, enter into character, get into the mood. You see a lot of actors, they actually enter into the character of a script, of a character in the movie. They become that character. They're not acting it anymore. They're already the thing. So you see some actors actually cry, not because they are faking it. They're not pretending. They're no longer acting. They are literally living out the character because they've entered so much into it. And so, you know, by the time you learn in our, Soft Skills Academy, we taught a lot about creativity, and there's a concept called flow, where you become one with what you're doing. You become one with it. A lot of spoken word artists, public speakers get into that kind of flow. Pianists, keyboardists, those that are into arts and entertainment, a lot of times they get so much into character. What they did on stage, they can't reproduce it in their backyard. They can't, because it was another level of performance on stage. They entered into the spirit of that thing. And so sometimes you need to, now, depending on the magnitude of the audience, for example, the way Mr. Peace will, prepare when he's going for LTC, maybe slightly more intense because of the magnitude of the stage. Already stated, you cannot afford to now demystify or, belittle smaller platforms and say, I'm just speaking to two people, I'll just prepare sharply. No, that's not what I'm saying. However, the magnitude of the stage, the caliber of people you're speaking to should also be considered in your preparation. And so when he's going for LTC, it may not be the same way prepared as when he's teaching his GS3 students who they are about to, write their exams. And so you have to prepare to the degree of how seriously the audience should take you. You see that? The quality of your thoughts, the quality of your words, the quality of your preparation. It's dependent on the magnitude of the stage. Enter into character. And so when you're an LTC, he's speaking with the diction, he has sharpened everything because he can't afford to mess up. Now, on TV channels is coming, everybody's going to be viewing this all across the world. No margin for error. And so you got to enter into character. You rehearse as often as you possibly can. And, I've been privileged to speak to people from time to time, most often every week and all of that. I have to rehearse the things that I have to say. I have to rehearse every now and then because I cannot afford to deliver less than par, because of the value I place on the people that I'm speaking to. So the quality of a preparation is a function of the kind of perception you have on the audience. Very, very important. Sincerity is the soul of eloquence. See how eloquent, or rather how sincere Obama was. He weaved his own story into the whole speech, and boy, how compelling it was. You see, sincerity is the soul of eloquence. So as much as you have very fantastic things to say, be sincere. Share a very real life story about you. See, let people be able to feel you. Manage your time. Brevity is the soul of wit. Leave them wanting more. Don't be the kind of person that will wear your audience out until they are tired. You started very good. Your middle point was awesome, but your end, everybody was already getting tired. And so, come and be going, especially if, depending on the kind of conversation it is. If it is one for inspiration, it's not likely that you have enough to say to inspire someone for 2-3 hours. But if it is to educate, to enlighten, to train, like we're doing right now, 1 hour plus can still work. I mean, you guys have been here for since 8 o'clock, and this is 11:07. 3 hours listening to two guys. I mean, that's because the nature of what we're doing here is to, inform you, educate you, train you, even though, of course, we still have to be very time conscious and all of that. But if it was to inspire you, it's not likely you're going to be able to withstand, 3 hours, because how possible would it be for us to also be able to inspire you non-stop for 3 hours? And so usually those kind of speeches, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, that's all. And then you do what you need to do and you leave them wanting more. That is why they will call you back, because you left them wanting more. If you left and they say, thank God, then they won't call you back. You see that? So it's important that you learn how to manage your time. Insert some humor. Don't be too serious. Be able to flow, all right? Use jokes. Adapt your style, not the truth. Adapt your style. Be able to adapt to whatever you're doing. Insert some jokes, some humor, and all of that. Adapt your style, your body language, touch someone, make an illustration. There's a lot of preachers nowadays, they use a lot of people to say, can I get 5 guys here? Everybody's looking, everybody's watching. Who are the 5 guys? What does he want to do with them? That's very important. Engage your audience, speak to them. I use a lot of illustrations too. It's, audiovisual aids help a lot. Master your movements. Master your movement. If it's too much, it can distract. If it's too much and it's unnecessary, it can distract. It can be very offensive in some cases. So master your movement. Learn the art of exposition through analogy, discarding, division, classification, example, analysis, generalization, definitions, contrasts. Like I said, antithesis is so powerful. It's one of the most powerful ways of arousing emotions in an audience. Tell them what it is not. Tell them what it is not. Then tell them what it is. Powerful, so powerful. Use contrast a lot. All right. So when you're exposing something, analogize. Use analogies. Use illustrations. You can discarding is also like contrast. So you say, this is not this. You discard this. This is not what this is. For example, you want to start public speaking, you start by saying, these are the things public speaking is not. All right, this is not what public speaking is. Then you do analysis or exposition by division. So public speaking is divided into this, this, and that. Communication is divided into this, this, and that. Persuasion is divided. You see, that is how to expose. Then classification, depending on the kind of thing you're doing. If you're doing an educative training, a kind of speaking that is more informative, then you have to be very organized and classified. Use examples a lot, analyze, generalize, and all of that. You define, like we said, we started by definition. Public speaking is the process of conveying thoughts in words to an audience in a way compelling enough to command persuasion and what? Influence. And that is definition. And that was what we built everything we're saying right now on. Learn how to influence by argument, producing conviction by reasoning. Avoid all kinds of fallacies. There are over 24 kinds of fallacies. In another class of critical thinking, we're going to be sharing with you the kinds of fallacies. And these fallacies are engaged a lot when people speak. People just say things, hasty generalization, slippery slope, all kinds of fallacies, several of them. And people, use these fallacies in communicating and trying to get people convinced about something. If you're speaking to me, you're trying to convince me, and you use a lot of fallacies, I can't possibly listen to you. Oh, all these are this, all that are that. You can't be speaking like that. You have to give statistics. Those are fallacies that you're giving to us. And so you have to be very detailed with the way you use your arguments, your premises, your claims. You can't be fallacious about it. Do you see that? Very important. Now, methods of delivery. Now, there are 4 key methods. All right, I'm just going to run through them. Read from manuscript. That is, everything you're going to be reading is going to be from manuscript. Everything. That may not be the most effective way, right? Because that can be boring, especially because of the kind of just for feedback, can we just let me know you're still in the chat room? All right. Thank you. Let me feel you, okay? Let me know you're still with me. So I'm not losing you, because this is 3 hours, 11 minutes. I know that this can wear on your attention span, but please just bear with us. We should be wrapping up soon. All right. So read from a manuscript is one of the ways. You just read everything. There are some that are important that you do that. Perhaps, I don't know the occasion that will around that, but there's some occasions that because of the magnitude of what is going on and then the brevity of your speech, you can't afford to be too extemporaneous and start trying to speak from your head, and you take more time. So it's always advisable to you read it from a manuscript. So you're very brief, you say exactly what is needed and you move on. Specialized kind of speeches need that kind of a thing. All right. So there may be times when that is important, but it's not the typical kind of speech, and it's not a typical approach to speeches. All right. Now, the second one is commit the entire note to memory and speak from memory. This one can be very tricky. You commit everything, you cram it, la cram la pour. And like we say back then, la forget afterwards. Because once you cram, you pour, the next thing is to forget. And challenge with that sometimes is that when you cram and then you deliver and you miss one word, even if it's comma you missed, if you missed it, but, you may have to go recount everything that you have said so that you can get it again. It's not the best way to communicate. All right. So try to avoid committing things to your memory, and be willing to speak from memory just because you want to prove you can speak from memory and all of that. It may not be the most attractive, the most effective way of speaking. All right. Don't commit everything to memory. Now, these last two are the best from experience and from those who speak a lot. All right. You speak from notes. Like Mr. P said, you use, card cues. They just punchlines. Number one, this, number two, this, number three, that. The whole point is developed in your head because you prepared for this thing. You are not coming to come and make a fool of yourself. You prepared so well for this thing. So you just need cues. Number one, number two, number three, 5 points. You mention your 5 points. As you're mentioning the points, the card, cues you, gives you a prompt that this is the next thing to talk about. And then you start talking to the audience. You speak from your heart. You are not facing carried away by the speech or by things you have written down that you cannot even focus on the audience. And that can be distracting. So you speak from a note, you just see the cue, you continue to speak, And then the last one is extemporaneous speech. That is, off the cuff, right? The reason why it's still one of the best is because it appeals to people's mind, or it appeals to people to such a degree because it is authentic, it's original. You didn't cram it. So you're not sounding like a machine, you're not sounding like a robot. You're speaking from your heart. Obama spoke from his heart. He didn't speak, from a speech, or he didn't give a cram. If you notice, while people were clapping and all of that, he paused. Let them clap. Then he continued again. If you are cramming, you don't clap. Don't distract me because I have things to deliver. Don't distract me and be clapping up and down. Please let me deliver what I have to deliver because I crammed it. But if it's extemporaneous, it's in your heart. It's not running anywhere. It's here. You see, and that is where preparation comes in. Learn all the quotes. Listen to, a lot of thought leaders. Rehearse your speech. By rehearsing, not cram, rehearse. Say everything you will say. Say it. Say it to yourself. Say it to your friend. Say it to someone. All right? And then get ready. Have cues and all of that. So you can speak from notes with extemporaneous and just combine them in a good way. All right? The ideal approach would be the last two, but there are times where the first two may be relevant due to the nature of the speech, the occasion, the audience, and the limitation of time and ability. But the last two are usually the best approach. See, Obama didn't take anything out of his pocket. He didn't use any paper. He just spoke from his heart. They're usually the best. They're usually the most authentic, most original, and the most inspiring. Okay, so beyond the stage. So now let's talk about before the stage, all right? Rehearse your speech, right? Rehearse your speech. Imagine everything. I already talked about this. Create your atmosphere. Conceive your speech as a whole. Anticipate the effect you want to have on your audience. This is so powerful. See how they would applaud you. Anticipate the times when they would applaud you. Of course, it's not like you get so hooked on that time when they don't applaud you, you're not feeling bad, but anticipate it. Put, measures in place to receive that kind of applause because you've already anticipated, this is a punchline. This one will evoke something in the audience. So anticipate it. It's so powerful. Imagine everything. Don't get there and then their reactions are shocking you. Imagine all the things that will be happening on that stage. Imagine the language as well. Imagine the language. Imagine your use of words. Imagine the things you will say. Know when you will insert the joke. And even, when you have all this imagined and planned out, also give room for flexibility. Don't be all tied on what you have imagined, all tied on what you have crammed, all tied on what you have prepared for. Some things can happen, questions can come up. Nobody ever prepares enough for a question. And so you just have to open your heart. And that's why you need breadth of information, breadth of knowledge. Know enough about your subject matter to make you confident enough to speak to the people. And so when things come up and you have to respond to someone in a certain way, don't be all fixated on your notes, fixated on what you have to say. You can branch here and there just to make the conversation a little bit more lively and authentic. All right. So imagine the language, imagine your use of words, drop apt illustrations to drive home your point. I use illustrations a lot when I speak to audiences. I try to, bring stories and all of that. That would help people, relate better with what you are saying. Grow your vocabulary through memorization. This is very important. All right. So when you're using words, depending on the kind of audience you're speaking to, you don't go to, a group of kids and then you are using big grammar. You're not communicating to them. All right. Pay attention to how words are pronounced and how you reinforce words into your memory. Of course, use your dictionary. So you see it, you hear it, then you practice it, you say it. And then, okay, so I think there are four. I think I missed one of them. There is the visual, there is the auditory, there is the muscular. That is, you write it, and there's the vocal. Yeah, I think the last one is the vocal reinforcement. Visual, auditory, muscular, and vocal reinforcement. So when you are learning a new word, don't just see it. You may forget. Beyond seeing it, hear it. Press that audio e-dictionaries. Check them out. They will pronounce it to you. So you will hear it, you will see it, you will now write it, because that's the muscular part. You write the word and then you say the word. By the time you do that repeatedly, that word will stick in your mind, and then you use it in context. Once you're able to use the word 5 times, after that 5 times, if you use it properly in those 5 times you used it, it has stopped. It's not going to leave you again. All right, very important. Now, beyond the stage, as we begin to wrap up, beyond the stage. As earlier said, public speaking is a process that begins before the stage and continues after the delivery of a speech. Speaking, how did I do? Did I do it? Yeah. Are you sure? Okay. No, I don't think I did well. I think I did very awful. No, calm down. Don't be obnoxious about your feedback. Ask for genuine and sincere feedback from those you respect their opinions, especially those that were there who listened to you. Let them give you very interesting feedback. For example, we need you to give us some feedback about our sessions today. All right. So how was our session? Hope you found it very useful, insightful, and impactful. All right. Very important to evaluate your speech and seek feedback. Don't be obnoxious about it. A public speaker is not made by a good speech. He's made by a great mind. Therefore, work on the quality of your thoughts. Sharpen your thoughts by observation, retrospective, and critical thinking. And so a public speaker is not just about speaking. What makes the speaking is the thinking behind it. And so beyond the stage, after the stage, outside the stage, you must constantly be thinking. You must constantly be thinking. You see, children, I'm going to get there. As long as children are taught through their ear than their eye, taught to remember thoughts from others than think for themselves, the staggering proportion of non-thinkers will continue. So you must be a habitual thinker. The live social media usually removes that opportunity for us to think for ourselves. Everything is feeding us. Everything is giving us things to eat. How about you create your own food yourself? Think. Don't be the kind of person that just consumes data, consumes information on social media. Always think. Oh, this is what is raining. This is what everybody is saying. So this must be true. That everybody is saying it does not mean it's true most of the time. So think, be a critical thinker. That is how you gather materials. You're still going to get there. So read speeches, watch orators, have conversations with those who will sharpen your thinking and bring out angles to a subject matter. You see that? So a lot of times, myself and my partner, Mr. Peace, we're talking, we're gisting, all right, sometimes, but we are really sharpening each other. Iron sharpeneth iron. Right? That's how a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. You sharpen yourself, you talk back and forth, you understand what each of you are saying, and it helps a lot because you are exposing yourself to thoughts. You know, one of those videos, I watched them and I shared with him. He saw one, shared with me. That is how it works. Oh, I watched this orator, a very fantastic thing. Let's do this. Let's watch this. Let's learn from this. You watch orators, you have conversations. Very important. This is beyond the stage. You're not preparing for anything. You're not preparing for any speech, but you must be consistently thinking. And this leads me to the last thing. Always be gathering materials. Always. Don't be the kind of person that it is when they tell you to speak that you are preparing. You am perpetually preparing for a speaking engagement, perpetually. Whether I have a speaking engagement or not, because my mind is always active. I'm thinking, oh, you have to know things about almost everything because they can ask you to speak about anything and then you must have material. So I'm always thinking about life, I'm always drawing illustrations from stories. Oh, something happened while I was going out yesterday and this, you are picking life lessons from life. You're not waiting till you're about to give a speech. Then you realize that you have no material to work with. Store stories in your heart. Observe keenly. Observe people's attitudes. Observe things. Read copiously. Read voraciously. Read much. Read plenty. Read red, like I like to say. Read until you're red. Red in the face. Read. Always be gathering material. If it is when you are called for a meeting that you're preparing for the first time about that meeting, you are too late. You must I was listening to Dr. Mensa Otabil. Sometimes he's a very powerful thought leader in Ghana, but he ministers to a very wide, range of people across the world. He said he's always preparing a teaching, always preparing a message. Sometimes he can have like 6 in advance. Before any opportunity comes, he would have like 6 messages in advance, always preparing. And that's the kind of mindset every public speaker must have. You must always be gathering material. Very powerful. And as we begin to wrap up also, the force of influence, like I said. Hello? Hello? Let's mute our
Yeah, please go on.
Audio. Okay. Beyond persuading an audience, seek to influence the individuals. I already mentioned this. The audience become individuals after the speech. An audience may impulsively be moved and persuaded by what you said while you were on that stage because of the atmosphere at the time. But do you have their heart after you are off the stage? And this is the question that influence seeks to answer. The way to do it is to build the force of influence into your personality. Be authentic and be believable. Meet and greet after sessions. You're not so high that nobody can relate to you. Talk to people. Ask questions. Or what's your name? Be open to questions. Be believable. Be authentic. Be original. Don't try to distance yourself from your audience. Connect with your audience. You can learn a few of their names. This makes you real to them. By the time they see that you're real, then they can try to pattern their lives like you. But if they see you as a God, they see you as somebody that no other person in this life can be like, they would like to hear you, but they will never really be able to pattern their lives after you because they don't see you as real. They don't see you as an attainable standard. You see that? Connect with your audience, learn their names, connect with their problems, learn the art of storytelling. Real stories connect better. All right, weave your life into your art. Very, very powerful. Weave your life into your art. Don't just be the kind of person that only speaks as a profession. Let speaking be you. That's who you are. You're speaking from your heart. You're not trying to perform or impress anybody. You're just speaking from your heart. Those kind of speeches are more authentic, believable, and far-reaching. All right. The things we can learn from Obama's speech. Maybe I should not. Let me not. Let me not give this away. But I'd like to just get our feedback on the chat very quickly before going to questions. This is the last slide. All right. So having listened to the Obama speech, what were the things you noticed? What kind of speech method was used? I already mentioned what it was. What were the things you picked out based on the things you have learned from Mr. Peace's session and my session as well? What were the things you can say Obama deployed in being an effective public speaker in that particular convention in 2004? By the way, that was the particular speech, right, that made him the president. Of course, that was not when he became president, but that speech warmed the heart of a lot of people towards him. A lot of solidarity was gotten at that particular speech. So what were the things we learned from there? Very quickly, let's chat. Let's see here before I begin to show you some of the insights. Obama thought clearly about what he wanted to achieve. Very powerful. He knew exactly what he needed to do. All right. Okay, can you have the last slide? Yeah, we will have the slides will be available. Right, Mr. Peace will still speak about that. Okay, so we can have access to the slide afterwards. So Obama thought very clearly about what he wanted to achieve. Can I have more insights about your feedback from the speech? Your feedback from the speech, very quickly, very quickly. This is the last part. Quickly, guys. Obama was very confident. True. Very, very confident. Very confident in what he was saying. I had goosebumps listening to him. He reached into his own story and whipped it around the vision for America. Powerful. Very powerful. You had goosebumps. Yeah, that's it. Deep conviction, in-depth research, articulation, confidence. Wow. He uses the extemporaneous speech pattern. Very powerful. Yeah, that's the speech he used, the speech method he used. He was not reading from anybody. He didn't cram anything. He was not getting any cues from anywhere. He just spoke from his heart. That's usually the most powerful. So he used the extemporaneous speech pattern. He employed stories and the observations and words that masses were saying, and he used it to gain his goal. He used relatable experiences. So powerful. You see that? So these are the things we see. He used hand gestures. So he was saying this, doing that. It communicates energy. I believe in what I'm saying. I'm the new guy. I'm the new guy on the block. I'm not as powerful as these other guys, but I'm fresh. I'm dynamic. I can help you. That communicated energy. Very powerful. So let's go into the insights, right? So the extemporaneous method was used. Authenticity and sincerity was obvious. I mean, he used his story as a black boy who, and then he related with the adults, the middle age. He finished them. Okay. The audience connected with his stories. He used antithesis very effectively. No liberal America or conservative America, but the United States of America. That was the punchline of the entire speech. That particular thing was just powerful. So he used contrasts effectively. Empathy was written all over his speech. All over his speech. Empathy. He related with the old guys who are out of jobs and all of that, but still hoping to be able to get some from the American government, even though they have to pay rent and all of that. Empathy was written all over his speech. He related with everybody. He turned the audience into a crowd. Powerful. His gestures showed a lot of energy. All right. That's very powerful. And lastly, I like to say that no other skill boasts more power over the will and emotions of men like that of public speaking. To have this skill is to have power, albeit and nobility. That's for me. All right. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you learned quite a lot today. Thank you.
Amazing.
God bless you.
Can we begin to celebrate? Can we begin to celebrate Mr. Dami? Can you celebrate Mr. Dami for such an insightful session? Can you put it on the chat session? Can you see that it was such a fabulous delivery? Can you do a hand clap? Wonderful, wonderful, fantastic. That is how it's done. That's how it's done. Delivery has to be capturing. It has to be deliberate. It has to be intentional. You can see you've learned a lot about delivery here. Learn a lot about delivery. Can you begin to put your questions together now? Begin to put your questions together now. Yeah. Keep the comments. Please also ensure that you share your comments at the end in the chat room, at the WhatsApp, on WhatsApp. Fantastic. Thank you. Well done, sir. You're doing well. You're doing well. Thank you so much. Wonderful delivery. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Plenty passion. Passion ball. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. This is awesome. Nice presentation. Please, your question will start coming in certain times after you are done with a presentation. By the time you are done with a presentation, some people get to ask you questions. And one of the skills in handling questions, because whenever you are done with your presentation, people get to ask you questions. Oh, there's a clarification I need here. Or when you have a presentation to a company, there's a clarification I need here. People ask you, what can we, can you answer this question? We need a clarification. What are the skills you need to have in handling questions? I just wanted to add that thought to it as you prepare to ask your questions. This is connected to answering questions and skillfully handling questions. So begin to put your questions together, and I will just run through this particular slide about handling questions. This is how you handle questions, some tips about handling questions. First of all, it's important for you to be knowledgeable as far as possible. The more knowledgeable you are, the better you're able to handle any question that comes your way. Very important. And then in your preparation, feel free to ask friends to challenge you. So as you're preparing, if you have friends challenging you and asking you about, oh, what did you mean by that? That already puts you in a better frame of mind to be able to answer any question that comes to you. So these are some of the tips. Also, it is okay to say you are not certain of the answer to a particular question, or that you will come back to them. And most public speakers are afraid of this. So somebody asks you a question, you already jittery. I don't know the answer. It's okay to say, look, I don't know the answer to this question. Can I do a bit of research? And you can even throw the question at them, ask them. I'm not sure about this. Be honest. I mean, the mistake is to now try to say something that is wrong, and then you already affect yourself and you are saying the wrong thing. These are some of the tips. And then remain confident of your expertise. No matter the question that comes at you, stay confident. It's important that you don't demonstrate that this person is ignorant. Stay confident. Let it be obvious. You can see all the things that Mr. Dami has shared with you about confidence and poise, charisma. Public speaking speaks a lot to your integrity as a person. When you stand up to people, when you stand in front of people and you're delivering, a lot has to go into, a lot will be told about your integrity by the time you are done speaking. It's good. People will be able to say, this person is this way because of how you spoke. So you have to remain confident. And then, of course, listen to the entire question. So people don't listen to all the questions before they start answering. Listen to the entire question and write points down where the question is being asked. It is also okay to request that a question be asked again. You can ask the person, oh, can you repeat that? What did you say there? I want to get clarity about this thing. These are skills that people need to acquire whenever they are being asked questions. You can ask again. You can ask the person, oh, I need to get clarity on that. Can you explain that point? Can you explain that? And all of that. Don't be afraid to do that. And understand the question and obtain clarity, even unsure. That's connected to understand. I'm not sure about that question. Can you ask again? Feel free to do that. Remember assertiveness. And also credit the person for asking the question. You can say, thank you for asking.
Can we mute our...
You're saying something?
Yes, can we mute? Can hear?
Yeah, can we mute? Let me try and mute some people. All right, I'm muting some people.
Yeah, I think it's muted already, yeah.
Yeah, it's muted now, okay, all right. So credit the person for asking the question. Thank the person. Somebody's asking a question. Thank you for that question. That's such an insightful question. Don't abuse people. Don't say, what kind of rubbish question is that? Why are you asking me that kind of question? Just thank them who I really appreciate. And if it's not a question that is connected before, I'm not sure that question is connected, but I'll try and answer. Just be free and open. Don't be jittery and unnecessary and perturbed. What kind of question is this one? Even if you feel that way in your mind, don't say it out. Then respond to the question honestly and the best way you can. You may check with the person who has asked the question if she's happy with it. So by the time you have answered the question, be sure to confirm, are you satisfied? Is that question okay? Is my answer okay? Is my response okay? Are you satisfied? Do you need more clarity? Can I help you with other resources or anything? Just be open and honest, and people will like you for that. And then lastly, if you cannot answer, you may direct the question to the audience without saying you do not know the answer. That's a skill that some people use. You don't know the answer, but you just, some teachers use that. Because you don't know the answer, without saying, I don't know the answer, because you don't want to, as a skill you want to deploy. So I just thought to add that element. Try not to contradict each other. If you are in a team with another person, try not to contradict each other. And I see your question. You have a question, Titi Lopen. I will meet you right now for your question. Question will come very soon. Then you can read up on this. This is an assignment. Please, let's read up on all the 7 C's of effective communication. I'm not going to talk about them. Read up on the 7 C's of effective communication. So quickly now, question and answer session. Let's get your question. I will mute you now, Titi Lope, for your question so we can ask you. We can answer your question. Please, you can unmute yourself. I've asked you to unmute. So please, if you have questions, you can also type them in the comment section.
Yeah.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Titi Lope. Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
Good morning, Titi Lope.
Good morning, Mr. Peace. Good morning, Mr. Dami. I actually don't have a question. I actually wanted to clap. I now mistakenly raised my hand. That was what happened.
You want to do what?
I don't have a question. I wanted to clap.
Oh, okay. It was a clap. Okay,
I now mistakenly raised my hand.
Interesting. Fantastic.
Yes. It was meant to be a clap.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any question from anybody? Idara says, I particularly like what Mr. Dami said about connecting with the audience. Very important. Connecting with the audience is key. Olawale.
Yeah.
You have a question?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I do, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Are we going to have access to the slide? Because we couldn't take down, the points while listening. Everything was fast. So are we going to have access to, some of the slides?
You couldn't ask. Okay, that's your question. If you want to get, if you want to know if you will get the slides, I'm going to speak about that shortly. Let's
All right,
attend to
sir.
questions. I'm going to speak about that shortly. Let's attend to questions about the training. If you have any questions, I remember a question that was asked by Eboluwa Johnson. Let me try and see if I can get it back. I don't know if she's still on the call. If you can ask it again. Let me see if I can get it back here. Trying to scroll through the chat now. Something about getting 100%. All right, he said, have you always had 100% success at every speaking engagement you've taken up? Have you always had 100% success? That's a subjective, I mean, it's based on feedback, really. You can rate yourself. You can, I mean, people can rate you. But one of the things we try to do is always get feedback from people after we're done. For example, now, by the time we're done with this training, especially on the WhatsApp group, this is also something that enhances our company reputation. We always like to get feedback from people. Like when I was speaking now, I got some feedback that I was a bit fast at some point. That's some feedback. And that was towards the end because we're trying to, I mean, this is already to 12 now. We don't want to keep people beyond 12. So I started off very slowly and all of that. And then at some point, Idara's high phone raised hand. Okay, Idara, we're coming to you right now. So there's so much content we have packed today in this training. And that's why we have to be able to, getting what's called 100% success is based on feedback. You can assess yourself. The audience can also assess you. So it's dependent. I can't really say, 100% success. But to a significant degree, I can say most times when I speak, because I've mastered the art, whenever I get to anchor at events, I mean, there's minimal error. And based on the feedback that I get from people, people don't say, this one is poor here, this one is. Of course, you can't be perfect. There's no perfect public speaker. A number of things here have to be made, but to a large extent, there's minimal error. People enjoy your delivery. Of course, there are a number of things you could have put here to make it more substantial and all of that. But of course, to a large extent, you did a very thorough job. I'm sure Mr. Daniel has something to say about that as
well. Okay, yeah, I think I'll just agree with everything you said.
Right.
I'll just retweet that.
Somebody says, can we try a micro presentation with family or a group of friends before presenting properly? Yes. I mentioned that earlier, that it is the presentation before the presentation. There's something called the meeting before the meeting. We'll talk about that on our class on leadership. But this one is the presentation, because this is especially if it's a presentation that is of significant worth, very important, and you have to practice it. You have to rehearse your lines. Mr. Dami also spoke about rehearsing. You have to rehearse, so you have to practice before people. It helps you to be better prepared. It helps you to enable you to know all the loopholes, all the points you have to. And then as you present before your family members and your friends, they're able to criticize your presentation and give you perspective. Add this element to it. Add this element to it. So yes, very important. You can do a micro presentation. The question here, Mr. Peace, good day, sir. In the course of the discussion, you made mention of something like you can enjoy yourself in the course of your speech, like putting in your testimonials in the speech. At what point do we draw the lines? It doesn't become too much so that it doesn't make people get lost in the whole discussion. Yeah, I understand you. This is where discretion comes into play. You don't want to start telling the story about yourself for so long and the major point of your speech is lost. You only tell stories and all those skillful things that Mr. Dami mentioned about. You only mention them if they are connected to the speech and they will help you enhance the speech and will help the audience understand what is being said. So I can't, for example, if I'm going to tell a story about myself, about how I got a job, all the problems I went through before I got the job, and I'm making a presentation before a student that wants to get a job, and by the time I start telling the story, it begins to go into 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and I have not made my point. People will get bored. So you are the one that needs to know, okay, at what point do I need to stop? That's why practice comes into play. You need to be able to know when that story has made the point. That's very important. Know when the story has made the point. When the story has made the point, finish. That's why I look at Obama, all those stories, all those things that he used, minimum. That wasn't the entire thing about the speech. That wasn't what the speech was all about. It was just things that were used to enhance the speech. So UD, I think that's what your name says here. You're the one that would decide. You're the one that would determine when. And that's why when you are preparing your speech, you will know. For example, personally, whenever I'm speaking at the at the Lagos Teachers Conference, I already know the stories I want to tell, and I know when to say them. So not just knowing what to say, know when to say it. It is not about what you want to say. This story, this personal story, it may be suitable at the end. Meanwhile, you're starting with it at the beginning. It may be suitable at the middle, at the middle part, where you're in between your story, but not at the end. Sometimes, so you are the one on that. When with this story, maybe when people are getting bored, people are getting tired. Let me throw in a personal story. So, example in teaching, I always like to use examples at the Lagos Teachers Conference. I always tell stories about when I was a teacher, when I was teaching my students. I usually use such stories in between sessions. At the beginning, people are happy and excited, they want to learn, but in between sessions, you want to throw in a joke, you want to throw in there, and then you keep it to the barest minimum. Okay? All right, so that's what I would say. Nobody can be 100% because there should be room for improvement, which is the largest room in the world. But you're excellent. I saw that. Thank you, Mrs. Babalola. Any other question? Let's take some more questions. If you want to answer a question, if you want to speak, because this is public speaking, I actually have, Idara, sorry, let me unmute you. You have a question. Please go on, Idara. You are unmuted already, so you can go on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes,
we can hear you.
Can hear you.
Okay. So my question is, how do you place a value on the time and effort put into making a presentation? Maybe you are called to talk to a group of people about something, or to train people about something, whatever the purpose of the presentation is. How do you place a value in terms of money on the time and effort that you have put into the work?
Interesting.
Let me leave that to Mr. Dami to answer that, and I'll chip in a thought or two there.
Okay. Well, a lot of factors come into play, actually. Sometimes it's the person who is asking you to come do it, simply. You know, for example, someone calls, say, for example, ExxonMobil calls you to speak to their managers. We probably will not charge the same thing we'll charge to another person calling us, even though we're not necessarily going to start from, you know, the beginning to start creating our slides. It's not every of your products that you have to recreate from the beginning. Sometimes you already have these things furnished. You've done several presentations and all of that. And so you will charge primarily based on the person who is requesting for your service. So at that point, it's you check out some other factors than the effort that, because you've done it already. You're not going to redo it all over again. You've done the slide, you've presented it several times, you can present it again without much ado. But the people asking you for your service, if you charge them too little, they will think you're coming to give them a very inferior, a very inferior kind of training. And so all of that goes into your consideration. And then if it is something that you will just have to start creating, and then a lot goes into it, that is every single time you have to do it, you have to recreate it to suit the context of the audience. Now, I believe you're not just speaking about public speaking, any service whatsoever, and including public speaking also. If you have to go into creating that particular product or service from the scratch, then of course you should have some metrics you use in determining the cost that goes into it, how to value. So some people, for example, if you're going to get a consultant to come and work on a project in Abuja, the consultant will already tell you before time that I'll be charging you 10,000 naira per hour. And if I'm going to be with you for 3 days and I'll be working 8 hours a day, so 10,000, 80,000 times 3, that's, 240,000 at the very least, and all that, then negotiation begins from there. So whatever your metrics are, you can use, you charge based on that. The audience you're speaking to, the person who is asking you to come help, the quality of what you're doing, how much time goes into it, and if you'll be needing assistance as well. There was a time myself, Mr. Peace, had a project to do. We got another person on board, all right, because we couldn't deliver. All of that went into our costing. It was going to take 3 weeks. We would have another additional personnel, the time of creating the report and the dashboard. It was a lot of work, and all of that influenced what we charged, for us to be paid. So a lot of factors goes into it, but you need to be very considerate, at the same time sensitive to the people you're
Yeah.
addressing.
Yeah. Fantastic. I think that answers it thoroughly. I hope you're satisfied. That answers your question.
Yes.
So effort, the
Yes,
effort
thank
goes into play. That's why cost of production in determining the price of a product. I mean, companies talk about the cost of production.
Yeah.
So, for example, your cost of producing your speech, so all that goes into producing your speech, all the effort that goes into it, will determine the price that you place on it. But also being considerate about the people. I mean, for example, when we started with Soft Skills Academy, we decided to put it at a particular price tag because we wanted to, but as we go on now, and I mean, if another company calls us to come and do this, it can't be at the price we've offered you guys. It has to go because we know. So the person that has called you will determine that. All right? Peter, are you good with that?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. I think somebody else raised a hand. You can go on. Divu or something, that's your name. It says UD or something. Your hand was raised recently. If you are there, you can. If anybody has any other question, please feel free to ask a question. And please, I want you to post your feedback and comments in WhatsApp, not just here, because we want to be able to use that as a means of publicizing some of our other products and services. So please feel free to, by the time this class is done, on the WhatsApp group, particularly just craft a feedback, comment, something you want to say. And also, if what you have to say now is a feedback also, please feel free to ask the feedback you want to give to us. If you don't have any question, feedback, number of things we want to give you at the end by the time we are done. Because we have just 10 minutes to be done, 10 minutes to round off. Mrs. Kemi Ansel, do you have any question? I see you are unmuted. Any other question? Means we did a thorough job. Everything well understood, is that what we're saying? I mean, we are fortunate that I didn't decide to go ahead with giving everybody an assignment, a classwork to do now because of the time constraints. I already had it in mind for everybody to make a presentation.
All the time, yeah.
So I'll give that as an assignment. Everybody was supposed to make a 2-minute presentation. Based on all you've learned now, choose any of these topics. The first one is the day I will never forget. Present that to us in a very attractive and, we'll just be wowed. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Or you can also choose sell yourself in 2 minutes. Why should I hire you? Sell yourself in 2 minutes. And then you can also choose what I did during the lockdown. What I did during the lockdown in 2 minutes. Present that. So can you work on that speech? While we wait for any other question, we can work on that speech. And possibly if you can send it to us, any of us will try and assess you and give you feedback and all. We can't do that right now. Because of the constraint of time. So work on any of those speeches, or you can choose a neutral speech that you want to work on. Why don't you put the topics on the group? I will do a recording to post to you. All right, fine. That works fine. We'll do that. We'll post the topics on the group. And then you can choose any one and then we'll post the recording as well. That works fine. Thanks for the suggestion. Any other comments, any other feedback? As we begin to wrap up the session, it's already 10 minutes to 12. While we round off, quickly take note of these points I want to mention. Just quick information about the Soft Skills Academy. At the Soft Skills Academy, we have other courses. So we look at effective communication. We talked about, this is very important. Remember that public speaking is part of effective communication. And initially at the start of the training, I looked at effective communication briefly, where we looked at nonverbal and verbal communication. So, but there's a course on that separately, where we looked at effective communication as a course separately. We also have leadership as a course. Leadership is very key. Everything rises and falls on leadership. To be an effective leader, you have to be an effective person, you have to develop your leadership skills, because it starts with developing yourself. Leadership starts with yourself. I will talk about the slides now. Olayemi, I'll talk about that now. Then leadership. We have a course on leadership. We also have a course on conflict resolution. Very important, how you resolve conflict in marriage, in relationships, in companies, in businesses, in jobs, conflict resolution. We also have a course on emotional intelligence. This one is trending. This particular course is trending everywhere right now. Everybody's talking about emotional intelligence. But I think from what I know in this country, this year, Soft Skills Academy was the only company that started talking about emotional intelligence. It wasn't until COVID-19 started that everybody's now catching on, emotional intelligence, let's learn Revolution, did a course, is doing a course. Everybody's not shouting emotional intelligence. But before the start of the year, we will be shouting emotional intelligence. This is key and all of that. So we have a course on that separately. And then we also have a course on persuasion. How do you sharpen your persuasive skills? Some of us have already done some of these courses. But if you want to do, for the new people amongst us, you can do that. We have a course on adaptability. Lots of changes in the country right now, in the world right now, globally. Many things have been disrupted. I mean, there's a lot of disruption. How do you adapt to the changes? We have a course on that as well. We also have a course on public speaking. That's the one you're doing right now. So if you want the recording, we'll talk about that shortly. We have a course on collaboration. How do you work with people? How do you teamwork? How do you improve your teamwork skills and competencies? How do you collaborate effectively towards achieving the results? And then we'll have a course on creativity. So Dami mentioned this earlier on. Creativity is very key skill in this age. One of the major skills that can make you a productive person. So all these courses and even more are available at the Soft Skills Academy. I mean, to develop and sharpen yourself. There's also time management. That's very key. I have a course on time management to sharpen yourself and polish yourself. Very important. So it's important that you take action now. Very important to take action now. All the things you have learned, all the things you have heard today about public speaking, the assignments, the strategies, everything, please improve yourself. Very key. And practice is what makes perfection. And then also please follow us on our social media handles. I mentioned it earlier. That's my social media handle at AskPeace_. And then also follow the Soft Skills Academy handle. All of these things the same way on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I usually call it the FIT channel. FIT. If you want to stay fit, be on FIT. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So FIT channels, AskPeace_, and then at Get Soft Skills. Follow us on those channels. And please also download a free resource. We just released this at the Soft Skills Academy. Download this free resource at the Soft Skills Academy. It will help you a lot. Visit that page, bit.ly/Soft Skills Academy. We're going to download a resource that we just curated for this COVID-19 pandemic season, how to develop yourself in matters of creativity, emotional intelligence, and adaptability. So you can visit that link to download it. It's free. It's a free resource and all that. So please patronize us, spread the word. More importantly, spread the word. If you have somebody that you think will be interested, if you work in a company, you're the HR, you know the HR, recommend the Soft Skills Academy. Will be available. We have online courses. We have courses that can be taken. All of these courses can be taken online. I mean, some of them are already pre-recorded. You can just listen, we'll interact with you, and very easy. You learn all those things, and everything is going to be very interesting. All right, so as we begin to wrap up now, concerning this recording and the slides, because most of us have been hearing this, we have just 6 minutes to wrap up. The recording and the slides can be available, but they are going to be at a cost. We're not making them available for free. That's because of licensing reasons. These are company products. A lot of has gone into preparing these things. Now, while the training has been paid for, of course, but if you want to have access to the recording, the training itself, the recording, everything from beginning to the end, you can contact me. And if you want to have access to our slides also, I have about 90 slides. Dami has about 25 slides. So if you want access to all of these things, everything costs 10,000 naira. So the slides is 10,000 naira, the recording, and the slides is 5,000 naira. The recording is 5,000 naira separately. So if you are, interested in getting the recording, everything, because, what that would mean is that you have everything. You can even share and give and all that. So that's why we are being wary not to just give it out and all of that for free. So if you are interested, please, the recording itself is 5,000 naira. While all our slides also 5,000 naira. Please, if you're interested, just let me know. We'll reach out to you. You can chat me up privately. You can chat on the group and reach out to any of us. So that is that about that. Please, if you have any questions, I have just 3 minutes right now to wrap up as I begin to end this session. All right? Any question, any question, any question? Thank you so much for joining us today. Any question as we begin to wrap up? Thank you so much. You can begin to exit now. Thank you for joining us. Please stay safe, stay okay. Any parting words from Mr. Dami as we begin to wrap up?
Yes, such a great time. I had a very fantastic time, and I hope you guys also did. Thank you for having us. God bless you. Bye-bye.
All right. Stay safe, stay well. Any question and feedback, please ensure to put your feedback and your comment on the WhatsApp group. I will also post the assignment on the WhatsApp group so we can have a nice time together, and send me your presentation. 2 minutes, keep it short, so we can critique it and give you feedback on that. Thank you very much. You can begin to sign out now. Have a fabulous day today. Keep it up. The sky is the starting point. Thank you very much. We look forward to another time with you again soon. God bless you and enjoy the rest of the weekend.